If you clicked on this video and you're an engaged couple, congratulations. I sure hope you don't have to postpone your wedding. Unfortunately, our daughter did. This past week, I polled several married women and I asked them, what is one piece of advice you would share with somebody before they got married that you wish you knew yourself? I also asked a couple engaged women who I know are doing the work before getting married, and they've even shared some neat revelations. Stay to the end and I'll share one extra tip of a character trait I'm so relieved my husband has. And I'll also show you how you can have your own personal marriage mentor. For the best marriage advice, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified when we post a new video every Wednesday. Hi, my husband and I co-founded Intentional Marriages. We've led over 100 couples through an incredible marriage curriculum created by our North Point Community Church, as well as leading engaged couples through a premarital curriculum. Okay, so let's dive in. I'm going to read this piece of advice and then give you a little blurb afterwards and see if you can guess which piece of advice came from a married woman or an engaged woman. Okay, so here's number one. This first gal said, I versus you statements. Understand the difference in using I versus you statements. And she also said, learning how your partner gives and receives love. Now, the I versus you statements is so critical because when we're asking for something that we need and we're under stress, we have a tendency to say you. So for example, we'll just use a simple kitchen example. You never help me clean up the kitchen. When in fact, what would be received so much better is if you said, I could really use your help in cleaning up the kitchen. I am exhausted from homeschooling all day, running after the kids, trying to work, doing the laundry. And so now it's an expressed need. And the biggest reason we don't say I and we have a tendency to go straight for the you is because when we say I need, it feels so much more vulnerable. And so just recognize that simple distinction between I versus you. And the second part of that was give and receive love. So let's use the example that a wife is acts of service and a man is words of affirmation. Well, we typically show our love language and how we like to receive it. So the husband, if he's words of affirmation, he's probably going to give words of affirmation. Honey, you're doing a great job cleaning the kitchen. You know where I'm going with this. And the wife is thinking, yeah, right? Are you kidding me? Get your butt in here and help me clean this kitchen, because she's acts of service. The way she receives love is through acts of service, so she probably is going to show love by doing acts of service. So she's doing the laundry, she's doing the kitchen, she's sweeping down the driveway. And that's how she's showing love. So here the husband is desperate to hear words of affirmation, and he's constantly giving her words of affirmation. Honey, you look great. You're doing a wonderful job with the kids. You're amazing at this homeschooling. And she's thinking, can you just not pick up a broom and help me? And then she's doing all these acts of service thinking, I'm keeping this house running. Like, why won't he step in? All he does is talk to me. So you see how difficult this can be and how we can just completely mismatch. We mismatch our love languages. So understanding each other's love language will help you love each other better. So in that example where he's words of affirmation and she's acts of service, you're thinking, well, if that's not natural for either one of them, isn't that going to be hard to show it? Well, that's where it takes an extra dose of love to give to your partner. So you have to be more conscientious about it. Whereas if you had the same love language, it'd be easy to give and receive. So be sure to know your partner's love language. You just might change their mood this week. Okay, number two. This gal says, going about conflict resolution the right way can actually lead to greater intimacy. Learn to identify irrational thinking from the amygdala and walk away when you're flooded. But commit to each other that you'll always return to revisit the conversation at a later time. This one, oh my goodness, you guys, if I had known this before I got married, I was a classic stonewaller. If things didn't go my way in an argument, I shut down, and I shut down for days. And what I learned in counseling is that stonewalling is one of the 4 leading predictors of divorce. And I'm thinking, wait, I'm just shutting down. I'm the nice guy. How is that a leading predictor of divorce? And what I've learned is for the people that shut down, it's usually men. I know I'm kind of an anomaly in this, but I'm sure I've got some women out there that shut down too. It's on us, the ones that shut down and stonewall, it's on us to make a commitment to come back to the conversation. So it's important and good that you take time away from a heated argument. You need to take that time out, take that 20 minutes to calm down. But you have to commit to coming back, because us classic stonewallers, we can go away for days. Okay, weeks, all right, months. I know, it's bad. It can be really bad. If you're having a hard time believing that going about conflict resolution the right way will lead to greater intimacy, we have a very detailed video here where Russ and I take you through a fight and talk you through step by step on how we repaired after that argument. Okay, engaged couples, do you plan on doing premarital counseling before you get married? Comment below yes or no. All right, number 3. Okay, this next gal says, be a student of your spouse, learn what makes them tick, their wiring, take all the assessments, and then learn to celebrate your differences. I would repeat this phrase often. It's not right or wrong, it's just different. Oh my gosh, what a great piece of advice. And I entered into marriage thinking there was someone who won a fight and someone who lost a fight. There was a right way and there was a wrong way. It was either black or white. And what I learned in counseling is when you see things that polarizing, black or white, right or wrong, it means you're flooded. It means you are not thinking logically, which used to further tick me off. Both parties have their own perspective and their own reality of what happened. This one's not wrong and this one's not wrong. That is, you need to honor both perspectives of what each other experienced. So to sit there and say, no, 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 you're wrong, then devalues that person's perspective of what happened to them. So remember, we need to honor what happens to each other's realities. That's one of the best things that you can do. And as this gal said, celebrate your differences, okay? My husband's a morning person, I'm a night person. He celebrates my differences by letting me sleep in. Find out what you can do to celebrate your partner's differences. When this wife says be a student of your spouse, one of the best ways you can do that is with self-assessments. And in this video here, we go over 3 assessments that you can work through and gain a great emotional intelligence about your partner. Number 4. This gal says, invest in counseling on a regular, semi-regular basis before marriage and throughout your marriage, because you have issues that you didn't even know you had. Amen, sister. When I first went into counseling, I mean, right before that, I had been on my own for 18 years. I ended up getting married at 38. So I had 18 years of not having any issues. I woke up in the morning and no, I didn't have a fight with anybody. No one was pointing out what I did wrong. So when I stepped into marriage, I was like, wait, what is happening here? Like, I thought I was this really nice, kind, sweet person. And come to find out I wasn't. Yeah, it was pretty humbling going through the whole counseling and just peeling back all those layers of what I hadn't been working on for 18 years. And so although it can be a humbling journey to go through, it benefited our marriage like times 1,000. Now, this gal's piece of advice, I think some people cringe. They're like, well, I don't have any problems, so why should I go to counseling? Well, that's exactly why you go to counseling, so you won't have any problems. Yet we don't see it as a proactive measure. And one of the best things that you can do for your marriage is have a proactive schedule in going to counseling. Because we invite professionals into every area of our life, and there's no sport that doesn't have a coach. Why wouldn't you invite a coach into your marriage? It is so emotionally riddled with just intense feelings and Sometimes you can't agree on things. Why not have a professional who knows and can teach you how to communicate probably differently than what you were used to growing up with? And there's nothing wrong with what your parents taught you, but a professional will give you a wider range of tools that you can use in your marriage. And so I highly, highly recommend. Of course, we're biased. We've been going to counseling once a month for the life of our marriage, which we started 2 years before we got married. So we're at like 17 years. And some people are like,
that's a lot.
Yes, it is a lot. And so that's why, as a marriage mentor, we're not claiming to be counselors, but as a marriage mentor, we simply share our life experience with you in hopes that we can shorten the decades, because maybe Russ and I were really stubborn, and we can shorten the decades of time it took us to learn these lessons, and today's for you. So that's another plug if you're looking for a personal marriage mentor. All right, so let's go on to number 5. This gal's piece of advice is, it's not worth digging yourself into a financial hole for the perfect day if it ends up putting a strain on your relationship. No matter how much you spend, it won't be the spectacular flowers or sophisticated venue that you end up treasuring in your memory. It'll be the sacred promises you made to one another and the friends who shared that day. How beautiful is that? I think the biggest motivation for me doing my wedding was I wanted to have it for my 90-year-old grandmother who was flying over from Holland. And I think if that wasn't the case, we might have eloped. We might have done a destination wedding. I don't know. But be careful about how much money you spend on the silverware, on the chairs, on the, like she said, the flowers. So it's just a good reminder for all of us. It's easy to get carried away, and especially now with Pinterest and everything else, to have such a over-the-top kind of wedding. But remember, at the end of the day, she's right. Those memories that come to mind are the ones with the people. All right, number 6. This gal's piece of advice says, communicate, and then in capital letters, all of your expectations, even the ones that feel like the other person should already know. Humble yourself, especially when you find yourselves in a circle of bickering, arguing, and fighting. Somebody's got to break the cycle. So this gal's piece of advice was correct. Communicate all of your expectations, but I would make one tweak to the language. I would say communicate all your desires, because when desires turn into expectations, you get angry. And that's when you know an expectation has taken off and no one can fulfill expectations. You can hope that somebody will fulfill your desires, but you can never expect them to. So if you'd like to understand the difference, watch this video here. And for number 7, this last piece of advice, this wife said, some people have said, well, you're not marrying his or her family. And she said, you are marrying into a family. And at some point, for instance, holidays, birthdays, etc., they will have a bearing on your marriage. Trying to discuss and work through any of those issues ahead could be very helpful to alleviate stress later. One of the things I wish I had done as a blended family was to incorporate traditions that were important to me. Because I was stepping into the middle of a family, I wanted to honor their traditions, everything, how they used to celebrate. And that there was nothing inherently wrong with that. What I should have asked for was to add something that was important to me. So I had a tendency to kind of just roll with it, and then I wouldn't understand why I would be sad later. And so what I implore you, even if you're not part of a blended family, is share your hopes and dreams before walking into one of those, because if you watch yourself, when you leave those situations, did you feel loved, cared for, supported? Did you enjoy it? Do you look forward to doing it again next year? If not, take that as a learning lesson to talk through what didn't work for you, what did work for you, because now you're working on forming your own tradition. And it's so important to, if you're part of a blended family, to add to it. But even as a brand new nuclear family, you're working on becoming one, and you need to work together. Both, as husband and wife, are going to walk into these situations thinking this is exactly how it should be for me. And the other one might be going, it's not exactly what I think it should be. Or the husband goes to the wife's family and he's like, this is not how we celebrate it. So just talk beforehand. What can you do to come together before those big events to make them special for both of you and your family moving forward? Well, I hope you enjoyed all these pieces of advice. And if you're engaged, which one do you plan on working on? And for you married gals, which one would you rank as the most important one? Just comment below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you liked this video, give us a like, subscribe, and take a screenshot. Share this with your friends so that we can reach more married couples and help them have the type of marriage they had always hoped for. Oh, before I go, I promised to share one character trait about my husband that I absolutely love. And I didn't think about it when I was looking for a boyfriend, but I love his internal compass is to learn about what his actions do to a relationship. How can he be a better husband, a better father, a better son? And I love that about him because I would have felt pretty lost if I was supposed to just try to figure this out by myself and maybe go to counseling by myself. I love that his private internal compass is to go and figure out what is his role, his responsibility in the relationship, and how can he make it better. So love, love, love that about him. Earlier I mentioned how you could have your own personal marriage mentor. There's a link in the description below. Book a call, let's hop on the phone and see if this program is right for you. Okay, engaged couples, thanks so much for watching. And if you'd like to see the marriage manual for newlyweds, check out this video right here. We'll see you in the next video, and thanks so much for watching.